Hi. All right. So today I wanted to answer a frequently asked question, which is if I identify as a trans guy or a guy. So I think basically the simple answer for that is within myself, I identify as a trans guy. I constantly acknowledge my trans experience, my past, my present, and my future all as one line. And I'm proud to be a trans guy. I think that being trans is one of many identities I hold, but it is one of the most important ones to me just because it has really shaped who I've become. So having the trans in front of my identifier of guy is super important to me, and I like to be seen and known as a trans guy because of those experiences. However, I exist in a lot of different spaces. So there's Sky at home, there's Sky at work, there's Sky going to the grocery store, there's Sky meeting new friends, there's Sky around family, there's Sky going on a vacation. So I exist in a lot of different spaces. And I think it's important to say that I do not disclose that I'm trans all the time. Like, it wouldn't make sense if someone, a customer was coming up to me where I work and we're like chatting and like she's like, "You're a very handsome guy," and I'll be like, "Oh, actually, I am a trans guy." And like, I have had older ladies tell me, they're like, "You get more handsome every day," and I'm like, "That's really cute." But I'm not gonna be like, "Oh, and by the way, I'm trans." Like, it's that's not important in that moment. So there are times where I definitely don't disclose it. But in queer spaces, so like if I'm ever going to an LGBT thing or a pride thing or speaking somewhere, like I really like my trans identity to be known. I will introduce myself, like if it's like name, age, and you know preferred pronouns or gender identity. I will say like I'm a trans guy and I prefer to go by masculine pronouns. So just because I like people to know and like I love my queer community and I really just want to like connect with people. And this brings me to my next point is that I cannot always tell like if someone's trans or not, like unless they tell me, I'm not going to assume that someone's cisgender or transgender or whatever gender. So I like to disclose that I'm trans because then at least like if someone else is trans but maybe they're not, like maybe they're living stealth or maybe they don't want people to know, at least they could come up to me and we could have a really great conversation. So I like to put it out there because I'm proud of it and because I want to be seen as who I am. However, like in workplaces, so for example, I really only disclose my trans identity when it's relevant. So my boss knew me for the first like quite a few months as just as a guy, probably perceived me as a cis guy. And one day we were talking about why I go speak at schools, and I could have easily just said, "Oh, I'm an LGBT educator," and just leave it at that. But I decided to disclose to her. I was like, I'm a trans guy. I'm transgender. I was born female, but I've transitioned to be the man that I am, and so I speak at schools about that. And the conversation went amazingly. So at that time, it was relevant. That was a very relevant moment for me to sort of come out again. So pretty much, I say 99% of the people in my life know that I'm trans, and they see me as the guy that I am. I think with this conscious reminder that they've been a part of my trans experience. However, I do have sometimes some friends or family members like they'll say, "Ah, I totally forgot that you were trans," and that's, I mean, it could be a compliment, but like also it's an important part of my identity. It's kind of like forgetting, like if I forgot that my two best friends were gay, like that would be so strange. Like especially since they're engaged, like, I would be like, "Oh, I forgot that you were gay." Like, I don't know. I kind of think it's not really so much a compliment. But that's why I try and make myself more visible because there was definitely a time in my life, like I said, for my first, like, year and a half of college, I lived stealth and I wouldn't identify as a trans guy and I didn't acknowledge my trans experience. But my trans experience is so important to me and I really don't want to be invisible. Like, I don't mind in the grocery store if someone just assumes that I'm a cis guy. That's fine, whatever. Like, I'm not there to hang out and educate or be, chilling and talking about trans stuff. But I think it's important for me personally to disclose that I am a trans person because I don't want people to think that they can just know when someone's trans or not. Like I don't know. Like I've had people say to me, like, "You're too handsome to be a trans guy," and I'm like, "What does that mean? Like, what does a trans guy look like to you?" So I really just like to be known and seen as trans because I don't want to be invisible. Like this is a big, big thing for me is I don't want to be invisible, and because I'm on hormones and I've had top surgery, it's very easy for me to pass, and I appreciate passing. It definitely comes in handy, like for a lot of things, but also at the same time, passing has its downfalls where my trans identity becomes invisible in a lot of spaces. So basically, what I'm trying to say is I identify as a trans guy. I don't mind being seen as just a guy in like a normal, everyday passing interaction. But when my relationship gets with someone or a community gets beyond just that surface level, like simple interaction. I definitely like to be known as a trans guy because I really value my trans experience. So that's pretty much all I think I have to say about that topic. But yeah, basically, I don't want to be seen as a cisgender guy. I just want to be seen as a guy. So I think that's why it's important. It's like cisgender, and then this like guy term is kind of like in between, and then there's like trans guy. And so I think that like I like the trans to come and meet the guy, not the cisgender assumption to come and meet the guy assumption. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't mind if people assume I'm a guy, but I just don't want them to assume that I'm like a biologically cisgender dude. Like, because I'm not, and I'm proud of not being such, I think. I don't know. This is a very complicated thing to talk about. Basically, I identify as a trans guy. So, there we go. All right. Well, have a great day.